Hello everybody, this video is a little bit of a deviation away from my game development videos back in January and February for the Fractal Hackathon. I've been a little bit caught up. We had a 2 to 3 week sick period whereby my family contracted COVID, and we've got 3-year-old, 6-year-old, 9-year-olds, so we've had home quarantining, so we haven't been able to get any work. We've been resting, trying to look after the kids. And now I've been back probably for just over a week, and I've been trying to catch up urgently on some business matters. I started this business here called Archery Attack back in 2014. It's been a growing business. It's had a lot of struggles along the way. We had a competitor that tried to sue me and remove me from the market. So ever since then, we won our court case, by the way. It took 3 years over in America. But ever since then, I took the business a little bit slower. But what then subsequently happened in 2020, we obviously had COVID, and in Australia we've had a significant lockdown situation where we've probably had over 10 months of lockdowns in Melbourne, Australia, where my main business is. I'll just quickly open a video, Archery Attack Melbourne. We started this particular venue back in 2017. Unfortunately, we were about to open this sports venue, and then we had the lawsuit served to me, so I was completely exhausted. I spent about 6 months away from my family, painting, building in this particular venue with my brother and my brother-in-law. We set up this whole venue. I'm really happy with the outcome. It's just been a massive challenge because I was trying to run this brand new business, generate sales, train staff. Behind the scenes, I was up till 3 a.m. with lawsuits in America, paying $500 an hour, way more money than I had, and having to take out loans to fund the court case and what have you. It was a pretty traumatic time, but now I'm past that, and learning from these situations, being more careful to try and not upset competitors who have more money than me. And I'm trying to now grow this business. And in Australia, the COVID situation, whilst it's still ever present and we're having customers cancel left, right, and centre, we are starting to tick back upwards. And one thing that I've really had to focus on this past week is to try and get a grasp on how are we tracking. I've been trying to pull in all these different data pipelines. In the business, I have my brother taking phone calls, I have staff members hosting activities, we have cancellations, there's some data that's not here yet, but I've been using something called Data Studio. So datastudio.google.com. So it's a Google product, and this is essentially a great data modeling service. So once I can get the data in there, and I've been configuring it to be all real time, so every hour I have this data feed in, I can then build different charts. So you can have your line graphs, your bar graphs. In this particular instance, I've just got a straight up simple table, and I've just been trying to get all the data in there, understand what we have, and we can create different views later on, but this is perfect for me for now. What I'm trying to ascertain is how are we recovering? How are we tracking compared to where we were before COVID? One very simple example is this page here. Let me just make this Melbourne only. This is website traffic, for example, and I'll do the year before COVID. And the year after. So realistically, in between 2019 and 2022 is pretty useless. If I actually show those years, you'll see it's horrendous. I'll get rid of 2022. So during the COVID lockdowns in Melbourne, we had periods where I believe it was even as long as like almost 4 months or something where people were stuck at home. I have to look up the dates and put it in these graphs as well, actually, for a bit of context. It would really, really make a lot of sense. So blue is how many visitors we have on our website every month. So January, 1,700, then 2,300. Blue is representative of the monthly results that we had throughout the year of 2019. So just before COVID and before all of our lockdowns. Anyway, this last graph down here is December. Trying to hide out the way. And then, so you can see our visitors absolutely tanked in 2020. And we're an indoor sports centre, so, you can't do these activities. We were the first to shut down by the government, and we were the last to open up because we were the highest risk environment where you have lots of people coming in, doing activities together and sweating and breathing and what have you. So you can see we just absolutely tanked. And financially, that's been really, really difficult. I've got a loan. I owe my landlord over, $80,000 presently because we had the Australian government come in and support us to the extent of saying, hey, we'll make your landlords not force you to pay for X amount of time. So I think I've got another maybe year to pay off the debt, and they also forced the landlords to provide a minimum 50% waiver. But for me, it's still equated to at least a $40,000 loss year on year. And that business is yet to have paid itself off, because we started in 2017 and we had a lot of capital outlay, and each year we finally got to the point where we were breaking even, paying off all staff, paying off all rent, paying off all insurances in 2019. That was our best year, our third year running. And then we had COVID. And also, as a result of COVID, two of our activities, virtual reality and bubble soccer, got canned by insurance companies. Sorry, VR didn't. We just canned that ourselves, but bubble soccer got canned. We were no longer able to be insured. And also, our archery activity went up from $4,000 a year of insurance up to $12,000. So it's tripled. So we've got quite a few things going against us. And we're just trying to work through that. So now I'm really spending a lot more time to build these data sets, really understand all the fine tuning details that I can do to potentially get more leads for the business. Comparing Google ad spend, Facebook ad spend, TikTok, Twitter, what options we have, and see how I can, change these dials. And is there going to be a real-time, a delayed 1 week, 2 week, 3 week flow-on effect on sales? So if I take it back a step and go to this table here, the only thing I haven't got in this graph here throughout the COVID situation is back in February, we had a really strong month. And this here is not actually how much money we received in the month. This particular data is coming through from the sales team. So every sale that they booked on the phone, they would put as a result here. So the actual activity could be, booked and we received the money in February, and the activity was in April or May. So in reality, that was actually cancelled. So another piece of information that I need to put into this data set is the actual cash flow. So in relation to sales, so I should see how much money we received in February, how much money went out in March, because we had to refund a whole series of customers. So we went into negative. So a lot of the sales results here actually, I'd say 40% had been refunded throughout this period because we had multiple lockdowns. I believe we had over 5 lockdowns in Melbourne. So you take a whole bunch of bookings, you pay $5,000 at least. You can see our Google ad spend. You're building up this, 1 to 2 months set of bookings, and then all of a sudden the government says we're going into an emergency lockdown. We've got 1,000 COVID cases. We can't let it spread any further, and then we have to cancel all of our bookings. And I have to pay for sales team, admin to book the customers in, cancel the book customers, and then refund the customers. So I'm still paying labor for everyone to do all of this processing, but at the end of the day, we have no inbound cash to show for it. Now this is what I'm in this particular graph that Data Studio from Google provides is it's called a heat map graph. So it compares the data in each column to the whole column. So if it is really dark blue, it is saying this is the highest number within this data set. If it's a really light color, white, it's one of the lowest numbers. Then obviously as it goes through the shades, it progressively becomes a more stronger result in the table. So what's happening now is we've only just come out of another lockdown. Trying to work out when we had a little bit of lockdown. Once again, I got to bring in the dates, maybe even shade which months had a lockdown. But we are now starting to actually advertise again, and I got to bring through our Facebook ads. But what I'm expecting now is as we increase our Google ad spend to, say $4,000 a month, I'm hoping that in that month and the months thereafter, we start to see a bit more of a trickle snowball effect that we can compare year on year. And this, I believe, can I click this? Yes, I can. I can just select a few different periods and say, how have we performed? Oh, I don't know what I just clicked. I think I accidentally just clicked sort by year in ascending order. Yeah, I might go through a video at some point to show you how you can actually feed in this data. Ah, there we go. So our 2020 March is just before COVID. Well, actually, I think we went into lockdown, I think in the second week of March, and then we're, pretty much gone. I believe in June, there was talks of opening up again, started taking bookings for a week, and then we went into lockdown again. So there was, this looks to be like an 8-month period almost of just no finances or no bookings coming through. And then we started building up again, and then we went to another lockdown. So I need to also bring in some older results from my accounting platform to sort of see year on year, but quite importantly now we're trying to track, we can actually see that February we had 25. This is probably the only comparison I can sort of, maybe actually go January. Excuse me, I'm just a little bit of an amateur. I think I'm actually drilling down. I'm clicking something which is drilling down on the data to try and get more details, and I clearly haven't set up the report correctly. All right, ignore me on that point. I'm not even going to bother trying to click it. That's a topic for another day. How peculiar. Functionality is bizarre in that respect. I don't know what I'm clicking. Sorry, ignore me. That's my fault. I'm going to call that user error. But if we compare January, we had $15,000 in 2022 to January 2021, we had 23,000. And back in 2020, before COVID, we had 27,000. So we've got a bit of a way to go. These sales, also to clarify, and sorry, I'm looking at the wrong result. Arena is our indoor sports center, and mobiles where our team travels out to sites and we set up parks, schools, corporate locations. So this is actually our total sales here. So that's actually the number I should be comparing. Our total sales. So 34,000 34,000 in 2020 January. We got 29,000 in 2021 January. And then we've had 18,000 in 2022. So we definitely have a way to go. And one of the things to keep in mind with our business is we have about $12,000 of monthly rent. We've probably got about $8,000 of employee labor. So for us to actually break even, because there's also internet, insurance, a whole bunch of different costs. For us to break even, we actually have to make about 32,000 in sales monthly. So that's where we started to finally get to that point just before COVID. Once again, I've got to bring in this data, but we were making losses prior to COVID and starting to break even, and then all of a sudden we just had obviously a pretty awkward situation. So some other information that I haven't been able to bring into reports previously, it was a very manual effort, is that I would find out the phone calls from a service called Velox Telco. It's a local national number service in Australia whereby I can route, if people call 1300 949 444, our national number, they can choose it's called IVR. They can press number 1 to go to a particular city, number 2 for the other city. And then when they get down to that level, they can choose I want outdoor booking or an indoor arena booking. So I've brought that information into this. This is all done. I've utilized a tool called SyncWith. And as long as you're familiar with HTTP GET requests, SyncWith allows you to sync data into Google spreadsheets. And once again, I might go through that in a different video if anyone's interested. I'm happy to even step people through this in private if you reach out to me and need a hand. And then I can wrap it up in a video later on. But most of my data is actually going into Google Sheets, and it's polling every hour. And then I've got a connector from Google Studios connecting out to Google Sheets. If I go into edit mode here, actually, I'll just look at the data one more time. So we've got Google Ad Spend, we've got web contact forms on our website, how many phone calls we're receiving, and how many website visitors. So it's good to see, when we're spending money, are we getting more phone calls? Are we getting more leads? It's really important because if I, for example, had a new salesperson, and I'm finding I'm getting more phone calls, I'm getting more emails, but our sales are actually dropping, then I might see an indicator there that we might actually have a problem with sales. Fortunately, in our situation, we still have the same salespeople, my brother, over the last 3 years. So we've got a bit of consistency there. And we've got a similar team. We've lost half of our staff who actually host activities, but we've got the same manager over there presently. So yes, we're in an okay position to try and restore this sinking ship, patch a few holes. So in regards to actually taking a look at this data set, and I'll try and probably wrap this up now. When I created this data, I used something called a blended data set. If I go into edit, it actually allows me to merge multiple different data sets together. So this could look a little bit overwhelming at first glance. Let me see what you can see on the screen. So that's the data set. Let me just quickly change my screen size. Sorry. So each one of these are tables, and you define this data structure in each one of these tables. I needed to make sure that I had year, month, and day, and in each of the data sets consistently, and then I could do what's called a table join. So I can say, how does each of these data sets relate to each other? So this data set 1 was me retrieving analytics data from the website. Data set 2 was contact forms. Data set 3, Arena phone calls. Well, it's just phone calls for our business, sorry. Google Ad Spend, and then weekly sales. And in each one of those reports, I won't go through the data for the sake of time. I better get to bed. It's like 3 a.m. But each of these, I need to define a table join. So I'm doing a left outer, meaning that the table on the left is always going to be present. And if we find data, it's always going to be present in my output. But if we find data in table 2 that matches based on year and month, we are going to enrich the data set of table 1. We're going to add additional data from, okay, which way my camera's going. Add additional data from table 2 to table 1, and we'll have a larger table, more and more data. And that's the same theme here, where I'm bolting on all these bits of information on that same join of year and month. And to actually add a data set within Data Studio, it's not too difficult. You just click add data here, and there's some predefined connectors, which are the easiest connectors to do. Whereas in my instance, I was creating some custom data sets and manipulating them myself in Google Sheets. So you can connect to Google Sheets and bring in whatever you have come up with, or you can go straight to Google Analytics, Google Ads. I was finding a little bit of difficulty when I went straight to Google Analytics and straight to Google Ads and then trying to merge them together. I was getting errors in Data Studio that I couldn't visibly see what the errors were. It was just error could not compute. So there had to be something wrong with the joins that would sort of imply that, let's say this data set had the date format different from this data set, and when you try and join on that data set, on that particular variable being the date, because they weren't formatted identically, you have what's called a type error or a data consistency issue. But yes, there's quite a few connectors here. You can connect almost anywhere. So it's really, really, really cool. You can build lots of different types of graphs. Oh, I won't click add data again. That's the connectors to retrieve data. Add chart. As you can see, they've already got a whole bunch of predefined charts. I'm sure you could probably add in external CSS, community visualizations. There you go. So there's a whole bunch of community created visualizations that are outside of the standard Google offering that you can add in. What I was also doing for me personally, I was finding I was having a lot of issues when I was trying to blend these data sets together. So I was initially just making simple, like bringing in the data into simple tables and just so I could inspect them to make sure there was no, obvious issues. Like, for example, maybe year was coming in with a full stop or something silly like that. So I could see why I was getting errors, because unfortunately the error notification within Google Data Studios isn't the most informative. And on that note, I think I will call it a night. Thank you for your time. Let's see, I might do monthly updates on my business and see what, and advise what I'm doing each month to try and improve the situation. I'm actually going to be going over to the Melbourne Arena. So this is some photos of the arena. I'm actually going over there in 3 weeks. I'll be away from my family for a couple of weeks, so I can really just focus on doing a lot of work there. Got quite a few things to fix up. We have an arcade that I want to, can't find any images in this set, but we've got arcade controllers that have all been broken. We bought acrylic standard off-the-shelf packages, and I'm going to go over there and wire up some custom DIY arcade solutions that should be very durable. Plus just a whole bunch of other sort of renos and site inspection, catch up with staff, because I actually live 800 kilometers away from this location. This is where we tried to implement VR. Unfortunately, COVID struck and it just doesn't seem the right business model for us anymore. Especially, it was hard enough before, let alone now having COVID disinfectant sort of additional bits of concern when people are trying to change over their VR headset every 10 minutes or so. This is us when we were building out our upgrades for the VR area. People having fun. But anyway, that's it. I'm gonna call that a night, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for your time.